just a little bit of background. A little bit of background for the people who are new to the sessions. We have had 2 sessions already, so we start each session with a quick revision. So I'm expecting you not to have done the homework or have the answers necessarily. You might know them because you're such experienced coaches or cricket experts, but more directed at the people who were here last week. We set them a few little tasks to help them on their coaching journey. If you don't know some of this stuff, that's fine. If you weren't in here in the last few sessions. So let's just go forward a bit. Let me get my mouse working. There we go. So a quick review of session 2, which was a couple of weeks ago. For those people who were here, you want to just jump in and give us a little bit from your memory, how you might obtain parent buy-in as a new coach. What sort of things can you do to help drag the parents into some of these sessions and help you out as a lone coach?
I think one of the first things I think Jason might have mentioned was obviously getting to know the parents and their names, getting to know their names and faces, and building that rapport and relationship with the parents is just as important as it is with the players. So I think that's a good tip, and we provide the coaches and team managers with full kind of list of names and parents' names and stuff, so to help you in that process. But really important to get around to the parents at the start of the first session in particular, introduce yourself and get to know everyone.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, what were some of the components that we'd like to include in pretty much every training session? So what are those 5 basic components we spoke about last week? And you might want to hazard a guess if you weren't here last week. Jump in. What's one? How do we
planning? Then planning the sheet or in the app.
Yep. Great.
And we plan for warm up and what is the skill development skills we want to do in that session.
Fantastic. Yep. So we start off with a bit of an introduction, maybe a quick revision of the game. Maybe if we've just had a game, a quick warm up, and then some skill development. What were the last couple of components that you might do after the skill development?
Game.
Yeah, modified game. Yeah, absolutely. So let's make it as realistic as possible. But depending on the age group, we might modify that game to enable a little bit more success, but also as a coach, we might focus on some particular aspects so we get more practice at a particular skill in that modified game, and we can change a number of variables to do that, focus on that. What's the last bit of a typical training session, the 5th component? We've got 4 of them. What's the last one? How are we going to wrap it up?
Is it cool down?
Yes. Spot on, mate. Spot on. And what else might you do in terms of talking?
Debrief, maybe.
Yep, a debrief, maybe what we've done in the session, and maybe a little bit of forward thinking for the next game ahead as well. So what's our plans to make sure we improve on our performance and hopefully get a little bit of a win or at least improve on our game before. Fantastic. All right.
Robbie, can I just interject really quickly? Just for those who haven't been here, I'm recording the sessions, so just a heads up. And so if you're wanting to turn your video off or anything at any stage, please do so. But otherwise, the whole session will be recorded. Thanks, Rob.
That's all right, mate. And the other thing I asked for those people who were here last session was to have a bit of a go of maybe doing planning a session out in using the template we provided, or using the new cricket coaching app, which was launched a week or a couple of weeks ago now. Did anyone get a chance to have a go at maybe doing a bit of planning into the template that they'd like to share with the group? None?
You did
Anyone?
this last year. You want me to come back over that?
Oh, if you're happy to, mate. If you're happy to share, if you've got it handy. Beautiful. Talk us through, mate. What was the skill and what have you mapped out there for us? So you're just on mute again, Jace.
Sorry, I'm so not used to doing this. I started with treating the session like it was one later in the season rather than the starting run.
Yep.
So first thing we did was, of course, discuss what happened in the previous game, just quickly.
Yep.
Then we go on to organising people for each activity during the session, so get some parental help on the ball already.
Yep. So you'd already allocated some tasks, and all you had to do is just give people those tasks when they rocked up.
That's pretty much it. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Good. Forward thinking.
So start with a warm-up game, which was for yes, no, wait.
Yep. Can you just explain that game a little bit? The yes, no, wait game, mate.
Okay, it's a batting drill mainly, and the idea is it's choosing the time to call for a run. So you get them to practice saying yes to start a run going, no to stop, and wait for a situation where you're just waiting to see what happens in the field.
Great. Yep.
After that, we went into some skill development, which was mainly during catching, actually.
And what was the focus there, Jace, on the catching? Is that because you had a poor game catching, or?
With the young ones, it's often a progression thing through the entire season, so it's always worth coming back and doing some skills that they may be familiar with and trying to extend them further.
Great. Yep.
So this one was start off with a tennis ball and just get the kids to have a tennis ball each and practice a few things, catching by throwing it up in the air and getting on the way down. And then we do some practice of some bounce throws to sort of try to get the idea of a fielding situation where the ball may come up at you.
Yep.
And then after that, we've got them to form two lines and we'd start practicing catching over distance. So we start off with underarm.
Yep.
And then after a period of time, we then switch to overarm.
Yep. Okay. So great, Jace. Some nice progression. So really simple skill to start with. And then we're, I suppose, progressing that skill, making a little bit more open with the bouncing. So they've got to actually judge the bounce, the speed, etc. And then increasing the distance to make it harder again. So we're giving people an opportunity to be stretched and challenged. Good. Yep.
That's the sort of thing we also, after that, we'd go into a session where we'd have 4 kids in pairs and 1 stump. And they'd stand at the cardinal points. So north, south, east, west. So north was thrown to south and east was thrown to west. Yep. And you'd practice throwing at the wicket, 1 wicket in the middle.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So some skill development with throwing. You're giving them some teaching points or something for throwing at the same time, Jace?
It would be a revision of what we'd done earlier in the season.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Not the skills development, and that's pretty much what we did.
Yep. And your modified game, Jace, did that flow on from that, or was that something different?
Yeah. No, we played nibbles after that.
Yep. And just explain nibbles for the.
So it's sort of like netball, but with a wicket at each end to practice the throw at.
Yeah. Yep. So it's like a keepings off sort of game.
Very much so.
Yep. And they're practicing their skills of catching and throwing at the same time. Is it allowed to hit the ground or anything in that nibbles game?
If the person dropped it, then it was a turnover.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So reinforcing the skills. Good. And then the wrap up. What do we do to finish, Jace, in your template there?
Talked about what we've done during the session and any suggestions about where to go from there. We then talk about the upcoming game, what we knew about the opposition team.
Yep.
And generally tried to make things fun.
Good stuff, mate. Thanks for sharing. Much appreciated. Fantastic. All right. Little brain teaser to get the those big brains working, guys. Up on your screen now. Don't yell out the answer. Have a quick read of that. I'll talk you through it. So I need you to guess what the answer is. So Arnold Schwarzenegger has a big one. Michael J. Fox has a small one. Beyonce doesn't have one. The Pope has one, but he never uses it. Bill Clinton has one and he uses it all the time. What is it? I'll give you 10 seconds for thinking. Stick your hand up. Let me know if you reckon you know it. Got a couple there. Simon, I'll throw to you first, mate. What do you reckon the answer is? Just, you're on mute.
I reckon it's a name.
Oh,
Surname.
half right.
Surname. Oh, come on.
Good work, mate. Good work. Okay, fantastic. Everyone see that? Cool. All right. And of course, it wouldn't be one of my sessions without a rebus puzzle. There's the answer for you. And just reinforcing that as a coach, it's important not to jump to conclusions too quickly. Okay, you might think someone can't do a skill, but within a couple of tries, they've mastered it and it's time to give them something more advanced. So, make sure you give everyone the opportunity. Don't jump to conclusions. All right, rebus puzzles. For those people who haven't done rebus puzzles before, the shapes, the words, the positions of the words, they all give you a little clue as to what this little catchphrase is or group of words that you should be pretty familiar with. For this one, again, I'll give you a little bit of thinking time. If you think you know the answer, just pop your hand up on the screen and I'll throw to you in a second. I'm not seeing any hands up. Got you stumped. All right, I'm going to ask some people what their thoughts are, and hopefully between us we can nut it out. So Eloise, what are you seeing there? What sort of words are popping into your head?
Moral, because it's on the screen.
Yeah, good. That's well, you've got half the answer.
Yeah.
Okay, good work. What's that big square doing there? Let me throw to maybe Sandy. What do you reckon, Sandy? What's the cube there doing to the moral?
I'm not sure. Maybe a goal or a target.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
not too
We
bad.
think we might have it, Rob. We think we might have lifting morale, is it?
Oh, I like it.
Raising morale.
I like it. It's not incorrect, but it's not the one I had in mind. I like it. I reckon that I could pay that. There's another answer as well.
Saren's got it. Saren's got it in the chat. In the chat.
Saren, jump in, mate. Turn your mic on and tell us what you reckon. Sorry, what was that?
Support.
Moral support, did you say?
Yeah, moral support.
Fantastic. Well done, mate. Gold star to you, buddy. Good job. Okay. One more. This is a bit easier. Just don't yell out the answer. Just a bit of thinking time first. You reckon you've got it? Stick a hand up. Any ideas?
Yeah, Robbie, I think might have it.
Go
Is
for
it
it.
one step forward, 2 step backwards?
Oh, again.
Oh, you're a bit harsh today, Rob.
You are certainly not incorrect. I quite like it. I reckon you could get that out of this one.
About 2 left feet.
Oh, there you go. That's the one I had in mind. Well done. I'll give you half a point, Rob and Eloise.
That equals 1 point.
Yeah. You're both right. Correct. Good job. Who was that? Was that Raja with that one?
I think Rob got that. Rob Nurse.
Rob
Yeah, that
Nurse,
was me.
it? Yeah, well done, buddy. Good job. All right, let's skip along. All right, where are we headed today? We're going to talk about the batting basics. And if you've got a cricket bat handy, it might be useful to actually do some of the stuff we're talking about. Actually pick up a bat and practice the grip and maybe the stance, etc. we're about to go through. We're also going to talk about what are some of those typical errors as coaches that you're going to come across, and give you some solutions as to how to get in and fix those issues you're seeing there. Not all of them are correctable really quickly, but some of them are, with just knowing where to look and where to start. And for each one of the shots we'll talk about tonight, we'll also talk about a couple of little drills potentially as well, that you can do to reinforce the skills along the way. That's where we're headed. Any questions before we jump in? No? All right, well, good. A question for you. And again, just jump in. So my question to you on this one is, do these batsmen have the same fundamentals? So we've got, who's that first person on screen there? Let's work out who they are first.
Smith.
Steve Smith, good job.
Yeah.
All right, someone else for the next one.
Bradman.
Well done, good stuff. The third one.
Early.
Colin.
Bowley, good job. And lucky last.
Tendulkar.
Yeah.
I see
Excellent.
the last one.
Yeah, Tendulkar.
Sachin. Okay, so my question to you is, do these batsmen have the same fundamentals?
How do you classify a fundamental?
Sorry, Rob, go mate.
How do you classify a fundamental?
Well, if you looked at stance, grip, being able to play pretty much all of the shots, would you say they're pretty similar in terms of that regard?
Probably not.
In terms of playing style and stance, they're not the same, but there's one thing that is common is that their head is still, which is like, obviously you need it to be a good batsman.
Yeah. I'd say there's some very strong similarities at the foundational level. If you really drill down, at impact, exactly right. Their head's still. Some of them got really quite different stances, particularly Steve Smith, and the way he sets up. But if you look at them just before impact, a lot of them, all these guys, and including Ricky Ponting and all the other top-notch bats, they are all very, very similar. Although they might start off differently, when they actually hit the ball and move into the shots, they are very similar. And as a coach, one of the things you should be really focusing on are getting the basic fundamentals right. So giving them a grip that allows them to play all the shots. Giving them a stance as well that might also, not inhibit what we're trying to do in terms of moving to the ball backwards, forwards, etc. So we're trying to give them a really strong base to a pyramid, so we can then grow and develop some specialty areas. And all of these people had things they did better than most, but at the basic level, they all could play really strong defensively. They could all play attackingly, and finding gaps and hitting the ball beautifully is all very common to these guys as the greats of the game. Let's talk about one of those fundamentals now that's really important. Before we even start off, it's where we stand in terms of taking guard. Does someone want to explain in their own words what we mean by taking guard? If you're explaining to someone brand new to cricket, what is taking guard?
So when you're setting yourself to receive the ball?
Yep. And specifically, what are you doing in terms of setting yourself?
Positioning yourself in front of the wicket, or in respect to the wicket, where do you position yourself?
Yeah, love it, Menora. Yep. So it's all about positioning. Rob, Paul, sorry, did you want to say something?
No, I was just waving to Anna.
Very good. All right. So it's really about positioning, yeah? So what are the different positions we can take as a batsman and that we typically ask the umpire when we first come in to help us get our position right? What are those key positions we're going to ask for as a batsman? And as a coach, I suppose you might be the umpire actually helping them get that alignment right. What are the different things you can ask for in terms of taking guard?
Where you place your bat in relation to the stumps.
Yep. So what are some of those options of where you place your bat to ask the umpire in terms of?
Middle stump, leg stump, off stump.
Fantastic. Yep. Is there anything in between?
There can be, but I don't think at under 14s they're going to be considering that. And if they are, then they're a step ahead of where they should be.
You put them back in your place. Simon, good on you. So, yep, good work, mate. So, centre, middle stump, leg stump. The other one typically spoken about more commonly is two legs or middle and leg is the other one you can ask the umpire for. And more so, mostly thanks to blokes like Steve Smith and this new age coming through. We're also talking about an off stump guard as well. So typically, me growing up being coached, there's no way known I would have stood on off stump because my coach would have told me you're going to get out LBW. Whereas now, in particular situations, they're encouraging you to move around the crease, one, to open up the different avenues of scoring, but also to put the bowler off. So you might start there, but you don't always finish where you start. And we'll talk about that in a minute in terms of stance as well. Okay, so if we put some pictures up for you, that's what that looks like. So you've got middle there. Obviously, when you hold that bat up, you want to hold it vertically and coach your players to do that. I'm a little bit of a stickler where I like to have the face of the bat being away from the player because I think it helps the umpire line up the position of your bat. But yeah, not everyone is so pedantic. So you can see you're holding your bat in front of middle. Two legs is between leg and middle stump, and leg stumps directly in line with the other leg stump at the other end as well, in terms of taking guard. Okay, so the foundational bit, just getting your positioning right. And for kids, again, keep it simple, as you said, Simon. We don't want to confuse them too much. We might start off with the really young kids talking about middle stump and middle stump only. Let's not confuse the issue. As they get older, of course, we want to give them more options in terms of doing all of this stuff in terms of the fundamentals. Any questions on that? No?
Just Rob, I had one.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason for that? If someone asks, like a kid asks, okay, should it be middle or should it be leg?
Yep.
Is there a particular reason that we could say that, okay, this is good for XYZ and that is better for something else?
Yeah, so the really young kids, I think middle's probably better than leg because there's no LBW typically in games. So you can get hit in the pads and your stumps aren't broken, so you're not going to be given out.
Yeah.
So that's one reason you could use, I suppose. And the other one I would typically use is we want to give you an opportunity to be able to score on both sides of the wicket. So by standing in the middle, we're probably hedging our bits to be able to play on both sides.
Both sides, yeah. Okay.
Leg stump, we're typically opening up the offside a little bit more because the bowlers typically bowl outside off stump, don't they? Because that's where their fielders are.
Yeah. Gotcha. Thank you.
That's all right. Good question. No other questions? Okay. So grip. Got a couple of pictures there to help you out a little bit. So talk me through the grip. What are we going to do? Again, let's assume a brand new person to cricket. What are we going to tell them about this grip?
We'll introduce them to the bat.
Correct. Yep. Good. So get them to pick up the bat. Is there a way that we do that, which might help us out?
Two V's down the back of the bat.
Sorry, what was that, Grace?
2 Vs.
2 Vs. Yep, like it. Okay. And what do we mean by 2 Vs, mate? Have you got a bat there, Jax?
No, I don't. Sorry.
All right, I'll grab mine and I'll just hold this up, get my camera back on so I can see that I'm showing you the right thing. All right, so in terms of the Vs on the back of the bat, I don't know how we're going to do this. I might have to angle that down a bit. Can't really show you there, can I? I've got 1 V there that you can see on the grip. Yep.
Yeah, it's 2 Vs down the middle of the bat.
Yep. So they're pointing straight down the spine of the bat there. Yep. The pictures there help you a little bit as well. Why are we recommending pretty close to pointing straight down the middle of the bat? Slightly off is okay. I'm not going to be really fussy about this. And grip is very individual. Now, as a coach, if we make everyone really strict on grip, we're probably going to inhibit some people because we've all got different elbow joints and shoulder flexibility and everything. So some of us struggle to hold the bat with 2 Vs perfectly down the back of the spine of the bat. But what are we trying to do in terms of the grip? What's our goal as a coach?
I mean, first and foremost, as you said, it's about comfort. Ideally, so I mean, we were told in the first kind of coaching sessions that I remember doing is, lay the bat with the blade away from you, get them to pick it up with 2 hands as if they were going to hammer a nail into the wicket. So what it is that gives them, and then essentially that becomes their grip. They'll then automatically go to that kind of 2 Vs down the seam, down the back of the bat anyway. Yep. But also it gives them, so different people have a comfort level as to where on the grip that would be. Some prefer higher in the grip and some middle, some lower. And again, you've got juniors who have bats who might be, a size too big for them. And so they have to grip it down a bit. And so there's, as you said, there's no hard and fast rule as to where, but I think ideally you kind of, you help the younger kids with the positioning, but that was a good way because they tend to pick up the bat where they feel most comfortable then that way. So
like it. So if you've got a bat there at the moment, just stick it down between your feet if you're sitting, or if you're standing up, if you can stand up, got enough room. Just put the bat out directly facing away from you. Grab the 2 Vs, 1, 2, put it straight onto the bat handle, curl the fingers around, pick up the bat, as Louis said there, and just give it a couple of taps on the ground to reinforce that grip. Because the reason we do that is a lot of kids, as soon as they pick the bat up and stick it behind their toe, they go back to their old grip, because we want to reinforce that new grip with a couple of taps on the ground. The example we give is sometimes hitting the worm on the head or hitting the nail on the head with your hammer, just to reinforce that skill again and get that grip feeling a little bit normal before they go back to putting it behind their foot. Okay, I've given you a couple of other teaching points there as well with the grip. Typically, we coach middle of the grip, but as Andrew said, that's not always comfortable for people. Some people prefer a little bit further down or towards the top. But what we're coaching is, I suppose, the neutral position, which won't inhibit things. So the lower you go, typically the more sort of bottom hand you use, and the higher you go, the more top hand you use. So you're going for more leverage with your hands on the top and more control down the bottom, typically. So again, get them to try different positions until they find something that's a little bit comfortable. But if you find they're really struggling because their bat's too heavy and they're holding it up the top of the grip, bring it back to neutral in the middle, or bring it down to the bottom for a bit more control again around that.
One thing I see a lot in the younger kids is their hands quite far apart, and that's another thing that that's probably one of the only things that I really correct, because they end up just working against each other. I mean, essentially you want your hands working together. So so you want them, ideally touching, or if not, very close to. And that may not be comfortable for them initially, but it will stand them in good stead, because if you've got too much of a separation. You try and play a top hand, a drive, and your bottom hand takes over, and ball goes in the air. So there's, and you've already said it there. You don't want that bottom hand to be controlling the shot. You want most of the grip is actually done by the top hand. So
yeah, correct. Yeah, good. Some great points there. And to help you in terms of that grip, obviously, really young kids, we're not going to worry about the pressure of each hand, but as they get better, really important, particularly for the front foot shots, which we're going to talk about in a minute, specifically the cover drive, that if the bottom hand's too tight, you simply can't get the bat going in the right direction. So this grip becomes an impact on being able to play the correct shots, etc. If it's not in that sort of recommended position and with a certain amount of pressure in the right hands, etc. So a couple of things to think about there as a coach.
And
Any questions? Yeah.
It shows it really nicely in those first shots you showed of particularly Kohli and Tendulkar. They've hardly got any pressure in the bottom hand. It's really just, the index finger and thumb. Whereas, the top hand has got all the control there. So.
Okay, and this is the example that Andrew spoke about, the one we talked about. So that's there for future reference about tapping the nail and hitting the worm on the head, etc. So that's all there for you. Okay, the stance. Who's that first guy? There's George Bailey. What do you reckon of that stance, people? Like it?
Probably not for coaching immediately.
Yes. One of the most unusual ones I've seen. Who's the other West Indian guy that had a really...
Chandapal?
Correct. Yeah. So he was starting to get turned around as well. The other way, really open, wasn't he?
Yeah. Apparently, he did that because he learned to play cricket on the beach.
Yeah.
And so, the ball just didn't bounce. So he realized he just had to open and do what he wanted.
Yep. Yeah. And however, even with Chandapal and with George Bailey, if you go back and have a look at some old videos, have a look at him just before the ball's bowled. He doesn't look like that at all. That was just him trying to actually get his headspace right for not nicking balls and playing on the offside better. So he started in the extreme and then adjusted, and the adjustment was better because he started in that position. But he wasn't so extreme when he actually played the ball a second or so later in terms of that delivery. So in terms of the perfect stance, so how are we going to coach that pitcher down the bottom is more what we're after. And this again is allowing the new player the best chance of success through this particular setup. And I've given you a whole heap of teaching points here. But in terms of the key one, it's really that head position. If I'm going to focus on anything as a coach, it's getting that head position right. So what, in terms of that picture there, what's really important about that head position? What can you see? How would you describe that?
It's not falling apart.
Sorry, what was that, Sandy?
It's not falling apart. So you have a better view of the ball and you are more likely to hit the ball.
Good. And what about the eyes in particular? How would you describe the position of the eyes?
They are like at the center.
Yeah.
So you have more chance to hit the ball than miss it or get out by doing so.
Yeah. So why are the eyes so important? The position of the eyes. Let's talk a little bit about the technical stuff behind it. And you probably don't need to explain this to all of your players, but this is a reason why having the eyes level and also the same distance from the bowler by turning that head right around to face the bowler. Why is that so important in terms of batting?
Parallax.
I mean,
I like that. Who said parallax? Is that you, Jason?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. What does that mean, mate, for us non-smart people?
It means that the eyes are because the eyes are level and straight in comparison with where the ball's coming from, there's no error of position. Parallax is where the you're taking a slight angle and it changes how everything appears. So when we're looking at stars, for example, if you've got the you can use the parallax of the stars to measure distances.
Yeah. Okay. So if I could just summarize this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jace, that by keeping the eyes level, still, and also the same distance from the bowler by turning our head right around to be square, we judge the ball better and we're more likely to hit it. So how fast it's coming and exactly where it is in terms of that space, so we can swing the bat to hit the ball. Have I summarised that?
Yep, pretty much.
Thanks, mate. Great example. Yeah, I didn't realise you were an astrophysicist, but
I'm not.
could have fooled me. So really good. Eyes are absolutely critical. What else is important for this head position here? You can see I've drawn a line from the middle of the nose down to the middle, pretty much the middle of the back foot, pretty close to it. Why is that position of the head important?
Has it got to do with the swing of the bat being under your head?
Yeah, sort of. Not quite the key aspect, but yeah, if you're starting up nice and straight, the hands and the eyes and everything's all aligned really nicely, but that then allows you to be in what sort of position? What's good about that position? Everything being all in alignment.
Head right over the ball.
Yeah, your head will be over the ball and you'll be balanced. Okay, so soon, because the head is quite a heavy component of the body. So if that head position moves outside the line of the feet, so we're talking the head's towards off stump, but the feet are still on middle and leg in this position, the weight's already starting to go where the head is. So you're going to be starting to fall over. And also now your head is outside the line of that position of your hands, which you mentioned before. Yeah, so the bat's playing down one line and the head's in another. And we talk about the parallax, being able to judge the position of the ball. It's not going to be as accurate as it was before when we had everything in line. So really, really important that head stays upright and we keep that over the middle of our back foot. And as we move, we keep those eyes level. And just before impact, our eyes are still, so we can really judge that ball exactly where it is. Okay. The other things in here to point out, look at the feet down there in the position. Are they open, closed, neutral in terms of the stance?
Marginally open.
Marginally open. Yep.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
And why would we be recommending slightly open as opposed to George Bailey or the neutral? What does it allow us to do better?
Opens up the leg side a lot more because essentially you've got to get your foot out of the way to play that on drive, for example. I think
have to go around that front pad. Yep.
Yeah. So you're not having to do. You're just making it easier to access that area in particular.
Yeah. And for us older people, as we get less flexible, it also allows us to get that correct head position. So for George Bailey, are his eyes going to be equidistant from the bowler at that position he's in at the moment? No. Whereas going slightly open, we can start to turn that head around a little bit more to get them level and also get them equidistant from the bowler. Okay. So it just allows you to get a better head position. Also allows you to play your leg side shots a little bit better by being slightly open. And those people who do stumble across and get a lot of LBWs, this is exactly what we prescribe. Slightly opening the stance. So when they do take that forward press movement, they don't actually just plonk in front of their stumps. Okay. We also talk about the weight. Where's our weight going? So we want our weight to be dropping down. We want those slightly bent knees. And you see that weight if we drew a sort of a line where the weight was going through and probably going through the middle of the thighs in terms of that diagram. It could be coming through here because we're dropping the bum rather than, go back up. The weight's coming through here rather than with the head coming over and falling over that way. Okay, so it's a nice, good balanced position. Slight bend in the knees. Slight bend means you don't have to bend before you move. So if you all stand really straight-legged and try and run off really quickly, it's really hard. So if we have a slight bend, it's a much more powerful position. It's a ready position, ready to go forward, ready to go back. We want the feet evenly, just the weight on the balls of the feet. That way we're ready to move again. If they're sitting back on our heels, we've then got to move on to the balls of our feet before we can move, so it's slower. Okay, so we want most of the weight or more of the weight on the balls of the feet. The hands in close, okay, touching the top of those pads, just in nice and close. That means that you can still just bring the bat straight through if the ball's straight. If your hands are out and the ball's straight, you've already got to move the bat back before you can play a straight ball, and that's the one we want to keep out. So it's going to take longer. Okay, so we're starting in nice and tight, and then we can move away if we need to, but it takes longer to move it back for the ball that's going to get us out. I think that's about it. Any other points you'd highlight, coaches, in terms of stance? Anything else you'd want to focus on here?
Robbie, typically there's some kids who, when you give them a bit of a push, they fall over. And is that a bit of an old-fashioned coaching technique? But just making sure that they are stable.
Absolutely, yeah. I still do that, mate, with kids, and that's about that knee bend and having that weight going back through the hips and buttocks. So the weight's through there rather than the weight on the balls of the feet and the head leaning over. It's really about head position and that knee bend to be a nice, strong, powerful sort of base of support. But yeah, I like it. You can push slightly behind them. The drill I do is I get them with straight legs, completely straight, and I go, all right, try and stop me pushing you over. And then I get them to take a small bend in their knees and drop that weight back a little bit on their sort of heels a little bit more, but still on the balls of their feet to bring it back a bit, and then push them, and you can't move them. Much more stable. So yeah, like it. Anything else, coaches? Happy? All right, backlift and follow through. What are you coaching? If you get a new person, what are you going to tell them about backlift?
Sorry, Rob. I had a quick question on the previous slide.
Yeah.
Is there a particular preferred position where you around which area of the foot should the bat tap into? Is it at the behind the toe or in front of the toe or anything like that?
Yeah, good question, mate. No, we as Cricket Australia don't coach a preferred position. That's why I haven't put it on here.
Right.
It's really about preference. So there's nothing really that I can say as a coach that's going to be inhibited by tapping behind or tapping in front. It's really about personal feel. I think the modern day approach is there's probably more players sort of in between feet now rather than behind the toe. That's probably because a lot of them are doing that sort of forward press even before the ball's bowled, that sort of ready position. And they felt that by tapping behind, that weight's a little bit further back. But I'm not coaching specifically where they put the bat anymore. I tell them basically I want, the backlift to come up, and here's your basic stance, shoulder width apart, and then see where that bat ends up being tapped. They'll normally copy their favourite cricketer.
Yep, cool.
Yeah. Anyone else got any thoughts on that? No? Okay, good question again, mate.
Yes.
Backlift and follow through. As a coach, what are we going to be coaching in terms of backlift and follow through? Where's the backlift going to go to for starters?
What's the off stump?
Towards off stump. Yep. Any other variations, coaches? Anything else?
Slips as well.
Slips. Yep. Any particular slips? Fourth slip, first slip, second slip?
Right. No, I can't remember being that specific.
Just towards slips.
Yeah. Although, I was taught to the wicket keeper. But...
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts before I jump in? No. So I would say anywhere between sort of first slip and the wicket keeper as a guide. Getting out further, we end up if we're not specific around how far it goes out, sometimes we can get a little bit of a loop in the back left. So it has to go out and then come back in to play the straight ball. Okay. Whereas if we get it straight up, and if we had got an earlier shot here, these guys have gone pretty much, I think, from about first slip from memory. Tendulkar, I think, was a little bit straighter than Ponting in terms of that back lift. But we don't want it too wide, and we also don't want it too straight or back inside. And then we start getting issues the other way, where we start having to loop back around the other way, and we get the front pad in the way if it's going inside as well. So it just slows things down. And against fast bowlers, that's where this back lift becomes really important in terms of being correct. So that's what I recommend. What about in terms of follow through? Let's say it's a brand new cricketer. What are we going to teach in terms of a follow through? Any thoughts?
You follow through of a shot, any specific shot, or?
Well, let's talk about a front foot drive, but yeah, maybe front foot shots in terms of follow through. What specifically?
I'd suggest a full follow through.
Yeah, why is that?
Yeah. Full follow through, right up and through the shot.
Yeah. And why is that, Simon? Why are you prescribing that?
Because if they've got a full follow through, they can pull that back to a softer shot, but they've always got that ability to go through the ball and hit and give the ball a decent hit.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep. So the old coaching method, when I was first coming through the coaching ranks a long time ago, 30 plus years, we used to teach the front foot defence first and then teach the front foot drive. And what we were actually doing was creating an issue for our players by doing that. So instead of hitting the ball and following through cleanly and quickly, they're actually getting to the front foot defensive and then pushing at the ball rather than hitting the ball. So now the first thing we coach is full swing. So we teach the front foot drive first, and it's a full swing with follow through above the head. And then if the ball's not quite there to hit, we just stop the follow through at the front pad, and we'll talk about those particular shots in a minute. But we always teach the full swing first, because what we found is a lot of kids couldn't penetrate the field and they couldn't score because they were pushing the ball rather than hitting the ball.
Kids, some adults of us, some of us, I think that's my problem, Rob.
A few years later, are we, mate?
Yeah, just a bit.
I think that's a good point, Rob, because that's what I always find, that the best, particularly the best openers when I'm playing senior cricket, but you also see it in some of the junior cricket, is that, I mean, as opening bowlers, you're told to pitch it up line and length, middle to off stump. So you would expect that, 4, 5, 6 out of 6 balls will be in that area. And if you can only defend those, then, it's very easy to set a field. But
just read people and they can't score.
That's right. So, but you see that the really good quality teams, batters, and particularly openers, that's one of the key scoring shots, and it should be as an opener, because you would expect that's where the majority of your ball's going to come. So, so I think that's really, really good point, and it's a good kind of tweak to the coaching manual. I think is looking to score rather than just defend in that situation. I mean, you've got to know which ones to defend, as you said. You've got to be able to know when to stop the follow through, get the bat down quickly or whatever. But I think it's a good thing to be teaching the kids to try and score off those drives.
Yeah, absolutely. We want bat speed, which then it gives you an opportunity to score boundaries and get through the field. So I've said here between the wicketkeeper and second slip, I've given you a little bit more room to play with for new players, but we want to tighten that up a little bit, bring that in closer to sort of that sort of first slip as sort of the rule of thumb, without getting too far out beyond second, third, fourth, and without going towards the wicketkeeper and the leg, sort of fine leg. Keep it in that narrow little band. When do we start the back lift? It's the important thing. So this is the other bit I see all the time with kids but also in the senior ranks, the people who have trouble scoring, they're actually don't actually pick their bat up quickly enough. So they're waiting till the ball's actually delivered, and then they end up with a push because they don't have time to take the bat back up. Okay, so as the bowler is about to deliver, they're hitting their delivery stride, the bat should be coming up. Okay, so if you've got a player who's struggling to hit the ball hard and get through the field, it might be the position, the bat speed coming through, not a full follow through, but it also might be not getting the back lift up early enough. Okay, so it's not when the ball is released, it's before. Okay, get that ingrained into your plays early.
Can I just add something there, Rob? So this is where I think there's some benefits to doing the bowling machine, because that's when you're not quite sure when that ball's going to come out of the machine, but when the person who's delivering the balls holds the ball up, essentially about to put it in the machine, that's when the backlift should start. And I think it's a good habit then to get them in. So we will get the bowling machine out for the junior sessions, most weeks, because I think there's some value in them, just having that repetition, but also those good habits.
Yep. Thanks, mate. And in terms of the backlift, one of the really good tips you can give your players if they're struggling against the faster bowlers is let's actually shorten it a little bit, because you're going to need a little bit more time. If they're struggling to pick the bat up and get it coming through, don't take it up quite so high. You still get it up early, but we're not going to go the full flourishing backlift. I don't know whether you remember Brian Lara and his backlift. He was actually the first person to actually have that really high backlift, but it didn't take that long time to get the bat up and around, because all he did was push down with his top hand and created a little bit of backlift like these guys have done. All they've done there, if I can show you there, so hands are here, and automatically by pushing that top hand down, we create a backlift. Okay, so that's what the current crop of players are doing. Instead of lifting this whole bat up and curling it around, they just lift the bat up by pushing the top hand down. Okay, I'll go back to my camera a bit better. Push that top hand down, creates a bit more of a backlift and gets it up earlier. So you can get them to try that in the higher age groups in terms of backlift. But as I said, make sure you do the full follow through. All right. Okay, might keep going unless there's some more questions. Quite a bit to get through still. All good? Okay, just a drill here to help you get your players getting that backlift in the right spot. So what I often do is I'll get a set of those plastic stumps. I'll pull out the middle stump and I'll angle it slightly. So where that middle stump is now about off stump and going towards that sort of first, second slip angle we talked about, somewhere in between the keeper and second, more towards first slip. And get them to lift that bat up coming through the gap of those two stumps without hitting a stump. Now, to start off with, they can look to see where their bat's going, but then get them to face where the ball would be coming from and try and do that again without looking at it. So they get a bit of a feel for it before they actually have to actually go and play some balls. So it's a really good way to get that backlift grooved into the right spot. The other way I've done it, takes a bit more trust in your player, is to stand behind them and put your hand just behind the bat. What I'll do is I'll start it really low so there's not a big chance for them to start swinging, and I'll make sure that I'm telling them go slow. And my hand's important to me. But I'd probably do if you're not sure of that player, get the stumps out and get them swinging between the gap rather than using your hand. You could also use potentially, the flotation devices, what are they called? Like the tubes you use in the pool. Yeah, you could
pool noodles.
You could use a noodle, hold that, so you're a little bit further away from the bat so you're not getting whacked. So they come back and hit something that's not too hard that's going to damage the bat as well. So yeah, good little drill there to help you with the backlift. Any other ideas, stuff that you've done, people? Nope. Okay. Front foot drive. key teaching points. What are the key teaching points for a front foot drive? I've already given you one in terms of full follow through. If you had to give 2, maybe 3 teaching points, what would they be? Give me one, jump in.
Head over the ball.
What was that? Head over the ball?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we're getting our head over the ball. Like it. What else?
The leg moving towards the direction and no gap between the bat and pad.
Yeah. Okay. Gave me 2 there. Okay. But I'll pay both of them. So stepping towards the ball, we're transferring our weight. Okay. Would you say step to the ball or step towards the ball? What would you reckon would be better out of those 2?
Towards.
Why is one better than the other?
If you go exactly where the ball's coming, you might accidentally tread on it.
Correct. So again, the old way of coaching, we'd say put your foot to the ball. What did kids do? They put their foot to the ball and then they couldn't hit it because the pad was in the way or the foot was in the way. So we just dialed it back a bit and said, give yourself access to the ball by stepping towards it. Okay, so the words are important, particularly with kids who take things very literally.
And I think head to the ball is what they're teaching now. So, and rather than, head over the ball again, it's just head to the ball. It's like like what you would do if you go to catch the ball. As Robbie said, your head's the heaviest part of your body. So that will, once you get going in the right direction, it's hard to stop that momentum. But if it's going in the wrong direction, same thing, hard to stop that momentum. So yeah.
Okay. What's the other thing you might have heard in terms of the position of the hands and the arms, etc., particularly for the cover drive? And the young kids really struggle with this because they want to hit everything to the leg side. What's the other thing we might focus on to make sure they keep hitting the ball in the right position, back onto the offside? What's that little coaching tip?
Lifting the elbow, I think. Up.
Yeah, high elbow, which is also known as something else.
The number 9.
Number 9.
It is. Like it. All right. So you can see I've drawn a few number 9s there for you on the pictures. Okay. So some of you might struggle to see the 9 all the way along. It might look like a 6 for a little while there, but it is a 9, just rotating through. All right. So if they keep that position, they're more likely to hit the ball in the offside. If they break that number 9 disappears too early, we call it breaking because the elbows aren't staying high, coming through in that sort of vertical position that this guy's kept beautifully for us. If it comes more horizontal, we drag the bat across the body and it goes across the leg side. Okay, it's very hard to play a good cover drive if we haven't maintained the figure 9 or the high elbow, whatever works for the player in terms of that teaching point. Okay. Full follow through where you want the ball to go. Again, and we're just making it a little bit more specific. Okay, we're talking full follow through initially because we just want them to hit the ball hard. Now we're actually focusing on direction, taking it a little bit further. And in terms of balance, we want them to hold the shot for about 3 seconds. Okay, so we might talk about the first 3 teaching points and then progressively add 4th and 5th teaching points once they've got the first 3. Okay, so checking that balance, typically if the head's falling over too far and not going to the ball or over the top of the ball, or that leg isn't going far enough out and bending, they will be falling over and they won't be able to hold that shot for 3 seconds. So they automatically correct when you say hold that shot for 3 seconds, a photo opportunity, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so they're the key points. Anything else you'd highlight to players on that one?
Oh, just that it's tough to get a 12 or 13-year-old to reflect on anything. 3 seconds of them thinking about the shot they've just played. That's a special talent.
Yeah. Given use some sort of incentive. So if you hold the shot for 3 seconds, you get an extra ball. thrown at you, or will play longer in the game if everyone does this correctly. Give them a few little incentives. I use points when I'm doing one-on-one coaching. 10 points for a step, 10 points for a good head position, 10 points for a full follow through, and a bonus 50 points if you hold the shot for 3 seconds. Okay, give them some sort of reward. Give them to make it a competition. Okay, let's talk about error correction and tips. And I'm going to throw to the coaches. So I'm going to ask someone to give me their tips to help correct, and then we'll pop up what I'll put there. Again, there's no just one way of correcting this, but let's see what you've got to offer. Okay, I'll probably target more of the more experienced coaches initially, but I think there's enough examples coming up that we might get to pretty much everyone. Jace, you're up first, mate. Missing the ball or edging, particularly when wide. What do you reckon might be the cause of that?
If I could bat, I'd be a batsman.
Would you like?
I have no idea. Sorry.
That's all right. Bluey, what do you reckon? If they're missing the ball, particularly when it's wide, what sort of things are you thinking might be going wrong here?
Most likely that they're not getting that weight transfer and their head isn't going to the ball, and therefore the foot is not going wide enough. So you see this a lot. Kids stepping straight down the middle of the pitch essentially, and still playing that shot, even if it's a genuine cover drive as opposed to a straight drive. So so the bat's not coming through where it should be, so it's getting the outside half of the bat as opposed to the middle of the bat.
Yeah. What about backlift? Could that play an issue here?
Yeah, absolutely. So
which one typically would you think? Were you going inside, too far out? What do you think might be the issue for this one?
So you're coming inside. You might actually be going too wide with the backswing. So you're actually coming through as the ball's coming in. You're actually catching the edge of the bat as opposed to coming straighter and getting the middle of the ball. Like my ball, yeah. So
know what you mean, mate. So I think that the most common cause of this one is typically when you've got that backlift not getting towards off stump first. If it's coming inside, timing has to be perfect because they're hitting across the line. So if the bat comes from the inside, and this could be because they go out and they loop back and then come back across the ball. The other one that they might be missing the ball for is because they're picking that bat up late. So the bat's not actually getting there in time. And there also might be a situation, there's so many different things that could be causing this. It's a hard job as a coach. But you might also have a grip where the bat's a little bit open. So there's not enough wood actually available to hit the ball because the bat's been turned on its side rather than being square as it's coming through. So there's a whole bunch of different things. The other one you mentioned, Bluey, got nailed that one. Head's moving maybe still. Head's not still at impact, and we're reaching at the ball. It's too far away from us because we haven't stepped towards it. Okay. What about on the front foot drive? If we're dragging the ball from the offside to the leg side, what do you reckon, Rob? Might be the cause and correction as well.
Initially, my thinking is maybe the backlift is too far to the slips, like they're coming down from like third or fourth slip.
Yeah.
And so they're naturally just picking it towards to the onside.
Yeah. What was one of our other teaching points that we wanted to make sure they were doing this all the way through the shot?
Number 9.
Number 9?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's typically the one, if we're not able to hold that position correctly, and it might be caused by backlift as well, if we're going too far out and we're coming across the ball. Typically, it's that figure 9 breaking too early, not keeping that high elbow. I also talk about maybe keeping the stickers facing where you want the ball to go the whole time. If they don't get the number 9 or the high elbow, that's another one you can use. There might also be an issue with grip in this particular instance. So if the bat's closed because their hands are too far around on the grip, they might be having a closed face at impact, which is just going to push everything across as well. And that bottom hand too tight I think I mentioned before, if the bottom hand's too tight, and those people who've got a bat in front of them, you can try it now. Pick your bat up. If you've got enough room without smashing your computer or something around you, hold that bottom hand really tight and try and play a front foot drive and keep a nice figure 9. You can't get the bat through. Makes it very difficult. Just going to plug my laptop in, guys, before we fail here. 1 second. About to lose battery. Okay, got you still there?
Yep.
All good. Excellent. All right. Let me just get rid of that. All right. Hitting the ball in the air. Who have I got there? Rajo, you want to have a go at that one? What might be a common issue here?
Hitting the ball in the air. The back lifting is not, might be the problem. I don't know.
Sorry, mate, I missed that. I had my volume down. Just go again.
Ball in the air might be back lifting is not enough.
Yep, so you might be pushing at the ball, like it. Yeah, so you're just pushing and that bottom hand might be taking over to try and generate a bit more speed.
Oh, correct, in the air, yes. Bottom hand is coming up.
Yeah, like it, like it. What else might be causing that potentially?
Playing too early.
Hitting the ball too early, yeah, like it. Was that you, Sandy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're hitting the ball out in front, not catching the ball late as we talk about in cricket. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so impact point, what have I said here? Impact point too late, that should be too early, sorry. So yeah, we're getting that ball out in front instead of waiting till it's angled down. That should be too early, not too late. Yeah, sorry. And bottom hand too prominent, as Raja said as well. Thumb and forefinger on bat only is what we'd be recommending, not trying to slog it. No power in shot. I think we gave you the answer to that one. I might throw to Minora for that one.
Maybe bat lift is not enough.
Yep. And what else?
And you're not getting closer to the ball when you play.
Yeah. And there's one other thing. What are we doing after we've hit the ball?
The full going with the full swing of the bat all the way through, rather than
mate.
stopping.
Yeah, going all the way through. Great stuff. Yeah. So finish above the head, accelerate through impact, and perhaps start the back lift a little bit earlier. Good stuff. All right.
Rob, can you have you because of have you changed screens? It's just back to the small screen.
Sorry, mate. Yeah.
Can you
I'll sort that
try and
out.
put that on full screen? Thanks.
Yeah. That better?
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so front foot defence. What's the difference between the front foot defence and the front foot drive?
Follow through.
The follow through. It's the only thing really that's different here. What ball, as opposed to the ball we mentioned in the last slide, we've got a full ball. What's different here? Why aren't we going to drive it?
Ball's too short.
Ball's too short. And what's the problem with trying to drive a ball that's too short?
Head up over you. Sorry. It'll be skied.
Yeah, it's very hard to keep it on the ground because it's bouncing higher. It's hard to keep that high elbow and get that ball in the sort of the sweet spot and still hit it hard. Ends up going up, typically on this one because you're catching it on the splice, not getting any power. Okay, some teaching points. I'm giving you the first one there. Still stepping forwards, keeping the figure 9 exactly the same. The only difference here is the bat stops. So I've actually used the photos that I've used here in the slide are the same photos to demonstrate the front foot defence. The impact here is just going to be a little bit later. So this is the front foot drive. The ball obviously will probably be a bit lower on the ground here, and you'd actually stop that bat right where that last shot is. Bat doesn't go past that pad at all. Okay, the ball's actually hitting the bat at that point because the bat stopped moving. We're trying to take the pace off it. Everything else is the same in terms of that shot. So, any questions? I think it's pretty straightforward, yeah. Yep, but always teach the drive and then the front foot defence. Okay, front foot defence, error correction tips, ball hitting pad first. I'm going to fly through these just in the interest of time. Okay, so front foot's going to the ball instead of next to the ball. We spoke about that in terms of your teaching points. Be really specific about getting the head over the ball and not stepping actually on the ball or to the ball. You can put, to help people out in terms of the error correction, put a mark on the ground where they need to step to, or they can hit off tees initially so they get that balance right and then go back to the normal throws. And if the backlift's going inside and can't get around, we need to straighten that backlift, bring it back towards first slip rather than going inside towards the fine leg. If the ball's not stopping, this is that drop and run shot, okay? Obviously that bat's not stopping next to the front pad. As I said before, the ball needs to hit the bat rather than the bat hitting the ball for the front foot defensive. We're taking the pace off it, okay? So it needs to stop dead rather than hitting the ball. Ball travelling in the air off the front foot defence. Again, it's a similar one to that front foot drive. We want the bat angled down, relax the bottom hand and push the top hand forward to create more angle is the correction as a coach. And if they're falling over after the shot, heads maybe getting outside the line of the ball. We want it over the front foot. The other issue might be step not being large enough. Again, give them some sort of direction about how far you want them to go and maybe give them a competition to see if they can go further where each time until they get to that point. And also make sure there's a knee bend as well to help balance and keep that centre of gravity low. Okay.
What about playing your hands away from the shot?
What's that, Chase?
Playing your hands too far away from your body.
So the front foot defence, so you're reaching out?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's that similar thing that, the bottom hand probably going to take, when you start reaching, the bottom hand to get power or to, try and get on top of the ball, we're reaching out and that scoops it up. Yep. Any other questions on front foot defence? Nope. Okay, pull shot. What are the things we're going to be teaching? What are the key teaching points for the pull shot?
Back foot shot, so it's back and across with the feet.
Footwork's different. We're not going forward this time. Weight's going back and across towards off stump. Like it. What else?
Hit the ball out in front of yourself.
Yes, good. And what's the key way you can get them to do that in terms of the arms? What do we want the arms to do?
Stretched arms.
What's that?
Stretched arms. Stretched.
Stretched, yes, good. Arms fully extended out in front of the body.
And the weight on the back foot?
Yes, good. Yeah, absolutely. As we said before, back and across, all the weight's being transferred. My daughter's annoying me here. Okay, what sort of ball? I've given you a clue here on the...
Short.
Short, yeah. And in terms of height, for a pull shot, we want it somewhere between sort of the knee and shoulder height.
Just a quick question.
Yeah, yes, Andy.
So if maybe for the older, like senior players or the old juniors, because the balls tend to come a lot faster than junior level, wouldn't they play stand and deliver the pull shot or just play it on the front foot sometimes?
Yeah, so you've seen now, unfortunately at international level, a lot of them don't really transfer weight back, which is great for people who've got really, really quick reflexes, great hand-eye, great bat speed. They can get away with that. So you can pull off the front foot if you've got hands that are quick enough. Absolutely, and I'm quite okay with my play if they can play it off the fast ballers off the front foot. Basically, what at elite level now, the guys go into a front foot press, so the weight's sort of on their front foot ready to go, and for a front foot shot, they just lift up the front foot and they let the weight come forward. For a back foot shot, they just push back off there. They don't actually step back. They just push back off that front foot and play their back foot shots. But for the not so talented, doesn't quite work as well for us. And typically we have a little bit more time, so we can move our weight and get a little bit more power through the shot by going back and across. So we would coach back and across initially, but we'd also teach them how to play that sort of T20 shot, where it's just a push back and pull rather than just pull back and across. So it's a good question, Sandy. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that last week we covered before, arms fully extended out in front. So you get maximum power. If their arms are still bent, we're not accelerating. We can't accelerate through the ball as well. So they tend to get caught up and gets on top of them a little bit. Okay. The other things to concentrate on, we want to finish, typically, we're teaching them how to play the ball to the ground, okay, initially. So we're going to go high to low with that shot. And we're not talking about rolling the wrist, because if you go high to low, the hands will automatically roll because of the grip on the bat, okay? What we find is if you teach rolling the wrists, which is the way they used to, roll the wrist as you come through, the bat's now fully closed, the ball goes straight into the ground, and what's it do? It either bounces straight back up, doesn't go anywhere, or it gets so much sort of hit into the ground, it rolls for a little bit, but not very far. We want a little bit of topspin from high to low to get the ball going down, but we want it to run hard, okay? Not going straight into the ground. We want it to run for 10, 15 meters in the air and then hit the ground and run, okay? Travel. Impact, as I said, out in front, arms fully extended. And again, following through where you want the ball to go. Now, there's a really good drill, which I think I might have done with quite a few of the younger kids last year when I came down to the juniors, about directing where they hit the ball. So it's really about how far you step across. If you want to hit it to fine leg with the pull shot, you go further across your crease and you catch the ball later, hit it down to fine leg. If you want to hit it over mid-wicket, instead of going right across your stumps, we go straight back towards off stump and even towards middle stump, catch the ball a little bit earlier and hit it over mid-wicket. Okay, so it's about changing your body position in relation to the ball to where you want to hit that pull shot. Okay, so depending on where the field is, you can hit the ball wherever you like. Okay, it's a good little drill you can do with your players. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay, and the last little thing there is staying side on. Why do we want to stay side on for these back foot shots until you actually impacting the ball? What's the benefit?
I'd probably say power. You're getting more power as you turn through and hitting it.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, it's also to do with a little bit of a safety aspect as well. So if we're going back and across and completely opening up chest onto the ball and then the ball keeps low, what are our options? They're gone. You can duck. Now it's getting in the top of the head. You can sway, but even if you sway, it's still coming at you. Whereas if we're side on and now we can keep our eye on the ball, we can duck still and get underneath the ball. We can also sway out of the way and it can come straight through. Okay, so that's just trying to keep you in a good position in case the ball varies. We're lucky a lot of our players play on synthetic, but when they start getting onto turf cricket, variation bounce is a lot greater. So we want to teach them that ability to be able to play on turf as well as when the ball's bouncing exactly how they expect it to. Okay. Some error correction and tips. I'm just conscious of the time, so I'm going to move fairly quickly through these. If someone's rushed in playing a shot, quickly, what's potentially the issue here? Similar to the last one.
Setup.
Might be set up. I'm thinking it might be more to do with maybe not getting back and across, giving yourself a little bit more time. Okay. So if you go back and across, you're giving yourself more distance from the bowler. You're actually giving yourself more time to see the ball and get in a position. Also with the back lift. Okay. The tendency is to try and hit a pull shot really, really hard. So we swing back a long way. And by the time we get back to here, the ball's already there. And we're not in position now with our arms fully extended. We're late on the ball, top edge, or we're not in control. Okay, so we don't need a really big back lift, but what we need is acceleration through the ball. So shorter back lift with strong acceleration is the way to go in terms of coaching. Okay, hitting the ball straight into the ground, a little run. I've talked about that already. Bats close, rolling the wrist too much. Just go high to low. Catch it with just a slightly closed bat rather than fully closed in terms of that bat position. We want it slightly closed, not fully closed. Hitting the ball in the air, obviously the bat path, we're going low to high rather than high to low. Okay, and no power in the shot. Obviously, there's a couple of reasons here. Limited back lift, so start it, take it back a little bit earlier, but again, we don't want to go too far because we're going to lose some time in terms of getting back to the ball. It's really about acceleration of the hands through the ball and rotating those shoulders and getting those arms fully extended to get maximum power. I use the analogy of a Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. If they're really short and stumpy, they're no good to you, like a Tyrannosaurus, but if they're fully extended, you're going to actually get much more power. Any questions? All good? All right, that's all I really wanted to cover off today. What we might finish up with is just a quick run around from everyone. Maybe one or two things that potentially you now know that you didn't know prior to the session. And we might start, who's top of my screen? Let's just go back there. Bluey, what's one thing, mate, for you? What's one takeaway?
What I didn't know, I guess reinforcement of the fact that teaching the drive before the defence, before the front foot defence is really important. It just, and the things we've been saying, it's just reinforcing that. Yeah, so that kids have the ability to play a good offensive drive.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Simon, you're up next, mate. What's one thing, mate, for you, that one takeaway?
The importance of turning your head directly to the bowler. You know, what was it, the parallax?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, it might have been said last year, but sort of stuck with me tonight. So I'll take that with me as something I can really use going forward.
Excellent. Good stuff, mate. One little tip for that head position too, which I normally throw in here, which I forgot to, is that most of the time you've got a helmet on. Well, all the kids will have helmet on when they're batting. If their helmet's on straight, the peak of their helmet can tell them whether their eyes are level or not. So just a simple looking forward to see where the corners of the peak of the helmet are can give you a nice, good reference point. The other thing they're doing now, you'll see it in international cricket, just before the bowler bowls as they're running in, you'll see the batter look down, they find a spot on the ground, and then they look straight up. And that's their other way of getting their head in a good position. So they're picking a spot directly in line with maybe that off stump at the other end, or the leg stump at the other end, sorry. And then they look straight up to make sure their eyes are level.
I like that idea of the point on the ground and looking up. Yeah. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, good one. All right, Rob Nurse, one thing from you, mate.
The full drive versus the block, because anyone who's batted with me knows I can block, but can't really cover drive too well. I tend to push a lot. So yeah, that's me to a T. That's the way I was taught.
Yeah, exactly.
Block first and then follow through.
All right, mate. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that later on this year, the new Rob Nurse with the full follow through. A few more boundaries on the score sheet, maybe, mate.
Why not?
Lenora, what about for you, buddy?
I think the same thing that Bluey touched upon. I was so curious why the defense is not taught, but the drive is taught at the beginning as the first shot. So that's a big eye opener.
Good one, thank you. Paul and Eloise, just one of you is fine, or you can both go if you've got burning things to get out.
To put your back lift where the first slips is.
Yep. Fantastic, mate. Good. I think yours is pretty good anyway from memory.
I'm trying to perfect it.
Good. You keep working on that. Mirrors are really good. Get in front of the mirror with your cricket bat.
Yep.
Paul, do you want to add anything, mate, to that?
I'm stuck with the visual of Tyrannosaurus Rex. I think that's a really nice way of explaining the lack of the arc to get power in the pull shot. Yeah, I like that.
Good. Jace, over to you, mate.
Rolling the wrists when playing a pull shot, or more importantly, not rolling the wrists when you're playing a pull shot.
Good. And it's also, you'll also see typically the people who do that on their pull shot will also do it on a cut shot, which we haven't covered off today. So the ball doesn't travel anywhere, it just goes straight into the ground. Yep, good one. Thank you. Raja, one for you, mate.
Yeah, Arnav is telling me what is he learned. Okay, whatever Eliza has told me is the same thing. That is, in the front foot drive, the bat has to go in the back lift and the first slip or off stump only if it is going wide. That is, which I don't know. And Arnav wants to say why the ball is going into the air, because it's the lower hand is
taking over,
pushed up.
Yeah. So it's all these little things that can make a big difference. You can pick up very quickly in the kids. The backlift is one that I spend a lot of time working with the senior players, let alone the kids. It's just a really simple fix that then opens up so many more shots by getting it right. Sandy, over to you, mate. I think you're lucky last. The other boys have dropped off.
Probably just you clarifying about the pull shot, whether I need to go fully back or just play on the spot. Yeah. Because I tend to sort of play on the spot. I don't move at all when playing the pull shot. Yeah. And I find it like I think I play much more powerfully when I'm playing like that. It's just me maybe, but yeah. So
you'll see quite a few people actually just plant, and it's nearly a front foot pull shot. The T20 version now, if you've got quick enough hands, they're not actually, in some cases, the weight's going forward into the ball as they play a pull shot. It's not even going back because they've got such quick hands, and these bats are so good nowadays. They're getting away with it. So yeah, try both. I'd recommend you try the back foot back and across, and then try your version and just see the difference. See what works best for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone. Unless Bluey's got something else to wrap up with. Next, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be talking about the bowling basics. So that's where we're headed. I think that's our last session too, Blue, isn't it? Number 4.
Yeah. And for those who haven't been here for the first couple, once we get out there, which will probably only be a couple of weeks of training before a season starts, which is kind of, which won't be before Cup Day at this stage. Community sport is pretty much in line with the 80% double vax. So, we wouldn't be out there before Cup Day, and that, getting a couple of weeks in is going to be crucial that we're ready to go straight away. So we've got a good plan for the first couple of weeks to get the kids, ready for the first game. So there won't be much time between start of training, start of season. But we'll also be doing a few specialty sessions throughout the season. So we'll be calling on a few of the experienced and senior players to come down and help us with some fielding stuff, keeping, and a few other sessions. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, we had some grand plans for junior pre-season, getting people down to top line, etc., for some sessions again 2 years in a row. I think it's going to be straight into the season with some outdoor training, maybe a couple of weeks. So we'll do the best we can, but keep the spirits up. We've got some light at the end of the tunnel, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, people, for some bowling basics.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Rob.
Thanks,
Good night.
Rob.
Bye.
Thanks, Rob.